Original Enclave Oil Rig Faction. In March 2077, the President of the United States and top government officials escaped to a Poseidon Energy oil rig 175 miles off the California coast to survive the incoming nuclear war. This facility became their headquarters after the bombs dropped, and under President Dick Richardson, they developed what they called the Project. It sounds harmless, but the actual details of the plan were nothing but. You see, the project was actually a plan to wipe out everyone on Earth because the Enclave saw themselves as the only pure humans left. They looked at everyone else in the Wasteland as mutants who needed to be killed off, which led them to dig up the Mariposa military base using slaves to get the forced evolutionary virus. To achieve this, Enclave scientists even made a more potent version of the virus called FEV Curling 13, which was designed to kill 99.5% of all human life outside their group. And during this time, they also created Frank Horrigan, a Secret Service agent who got exposed to FEV and was turned into one of the most brutal killing machines in the Fallout universe. By 2242, they had everything ready with 250,000 gallons of toxin prepared for release into the jet stream, and the Enclave was literally hours away from ending the world. But then the Chosen One showed up and ruined their plans. Fighting their way through the entire oil rig, the Chosen One took down President Richardson and then faced Frank Horrigan himself in what became one of the most legendary battles in the Wasteland. After defeating Horrigan, they set off a nuclear explosion that destroyed the entire facility, along with all 250,000 gallons of the toxin. Appalachian Enclave under Thomas Eckhart. This enclave group started when government officials and military personnel escaped to the White Spring Congressional Bunker just before the bombs fell. However, communication with the oil rig was mysteriously cut off almost immediately after the Great War, which gave Thomas Eckhart the perfect chance to take control. Eckhart had been the Secretary of Agriculture, but he seized power by executing members of Congress who weren't part of the enclave and gassing anyone who disagreed with him. After taking full control, he declared himself president and changed the facility's entire mission from science to getting revenge on China. His plan was to use Appalachia's automated nuclear missile silos to launch more strikes on China, but the silos were locked behind automated security that would only open at DEFCON 1, the presence of the highest threat level. To trick the automated defense systems, Eckhart started releasing dangerous enemies across Appalachia, starting with Liberators, then Super Mutants, and finally Scorch Beasts. These massive mutated bats carried a plague that could control living creatures, and they killed American survivors for years, while Eckhart waited for the threat level to rise. General Ellen Santiago and other Enclave members eventually had enough when they realized Eckhart was willing to sacrifice their own people just for revenge. This led to a bloody civil war in 2086 between Eckhart's loyalists and Santiago's rebel forces that tore the Enclave apart. The fighting ended with every living member dead, and when Santiago's forces tried to destroy Modus, the facility's AI, it defended itself by sealing the bunker and filling it with poison gas, leaving only the computer alive. Capital Wasteland Enclave under President John Henry Eden. After the oil rig exploded in 2242, surviving Enclave members regrouped at Navarro and received orders to relocate east to the capital Wasteland. The orders came from someone calling himself President John Henry Eden, but he was actually a self-aware Zach supercomputer pretending to be human. Eden directed them to Raven Rock, a pre-war government facility with all the equipment they needed. This is where they rebuilt their strength while staying hidden for decades. Senior scientist Autumn Sr. led the evacuation east in late 2242, and his son Augustus Autumn would later become the military commander of the Capital Wasteland forces. But everything changed in 2277 when they seized Project Purity, a water purification facility that could give them control over the entire region's water supply. This created a problem because President Eden and Colonel Augustus Autumn had completely different ideas about what to do with the water. Eden wanted to use the water system to spread modified FEV that would kill everyone, basically restarting the genocide plan from the oil rig. Meanwhile, Autumn planned to use control of the water to make Wastelanders come to the Enclave for fresh water and protection. The split between Eden and Autumn got so bad that a brief civil war broke out at Raven Rock when Autumn openly refused the president's contamination plan. Much later, the Brotherhood of Steel launched their attack, using Liberty Prime to raid Raven Rock. In the ensuing chaos, the Enclave managed to destroy Liberty Prime using Bradley Hercules to launch mini-nukes from space, showing just how much firepower they still had. But even that wasn't enough to save them, because the Lone Wanderer and Brotherhood forces pushed forward and assaulted their remaining stronghold at Adams Air Force Base. The assault destroyed their mobile base crawler and scattered the remaining forces, with the Brotherhood taking control of the base and its satellite relay station. Mojave Remnants under Judah Krager. The Mojave Remnants show what happened to Enclave soldiers after the NCR invaded Navarro sometime after 2246. When Navarro fell, Enclave forces scattered everywhere, with members either trying to blend into NCR society or running away to avoid being captured and executed as war criminals. One squad managed to escape to the Mojave Wasteland, right on the border between the NCR and Caesar's Legion, where they could disappear. They had to hide because NCR rangers and bounty hunters were actively hunting anyone with Enclave connections, and just being a member was enough to get you arrested and locked up for life. Arcade Gannon, for example, who was simply born at Navarro as the son of an Enclave officer, could be tried as a war criminal if anyone figured out his father worked with the Enclave. By 2281, about 4 decades after Navarro's fall, these soldiers were old veterans living quiet lives under fake identities. When asked about what happened, a former Enclave captain named Judah Kreger explained that internal sabotage took down the oil rig, though he never really got the full details. He also stated that the NCR destroyed Navarro because they believed the Enclave was a long-term threat to the region. The remaining group included veterans such as Krieger himself and Daisy Whitman, who had flown 71 vertibird missions during her service. Although they had left their old lives behind, the remnants kept their weapons and advanced power armor hidden in a secret bunker that once served as a vertibird refueling station. The courier could actually reunite them for one final battle at Hoover Dam, giving them a chance to fight side by side one more time. After their bold arrival at Hoover Dam, the remnants disappeared as quickly as they came and became legends. The mysterious Chicago Outpost, through EDE's backstory. The Chicago Outpost is one of the most mysterious Enclave locations because we only know about it through audio logs found inside a damaged robot called EDE. These outposts were supposed to be pit stops where Enclave forces could refuel and repair their equipment when traveling across the country. A researcher named Whitley was working on a project to build tougher combat robots at Adams Air Force Base when the whole program got canceled. Everything got redirected to making better power armor instead, so Whitley decided to send EDE, his last working robot, to the Navarro base rather than throw it away. The problem was that Whitley didn't know Navarro had already been destroyed by the NCR, so he was basically sending EDE on a pointless trip. In his audio logs, Whitley left a message for anyone at the Chicago outposts, asking them to fix EDE so it could keep heading west to Navarro. The robot was supposed to travel through Illinois and stop at these Chicago locations to get repaired along the way. EDE did successfully reach at least one hidden Enclave outpost in Chicago where it received upgrades and repairs, confirming these facilities existed. However, beyond this confirmation from EDE's logs and the Illinois license plate attached to its frame, almost nothing else is known about these outposts. Research Colony Enclave from the TV series. When the Enclave was crushed, smaller groups survived in hidden places, including an underground research colony located in a snowy mountain region. By the year 2296, over 50 years after the oil rig was destroyed, this facility was still running and focused on scientific research rather than military operations. The research colony operated as a massive underground complex stretching across 8 stories, built around a 200-meter-long atrium that was originally designed for loading and unloading freight trains. Inside this converted space, the facility ran 3 major research programs that defined what this Enclave branch was all about. Their behavioral engineering program used selectively bred dogs, with scientists weighing newborn puppies and immediately incinerating any that fell below the minimum 10-ounce requirement. The facility was staffed by Enclave scientists, soldiers, and administrators who enforced strict protocols. One of the scientists working there was Dr. Siggy Wilzig. His research involved both behavioral experiments and the revolutionary cold fusion technology. As part of his studies, Wilzig experimented on a dog known as CX404, whose weight he misreported to save it, but over time he grew attached to the animal and secretly kept it as a pet by hiding it in a hole in his laboratory. When an Enclave administrator discovered this and threatened to sound the alarm, Wilzig scuffled with him, calling him a fascist, before CX404 attacked and killed the official. With no other choice, Wilzig fled the facility, carrying the cold fusion device he had implanted previously in his own head. The current status of the research colony after his escape remains unknown, but the facility represents a very different version of the Enclave. Enclave Expedition under Major Elias. In 2287, an Enclave force showed up in the Commonwealth and set up shop in the Atlantic offices right in the middle of the glowing sea. Major Elias led this expedition with orders from his superiors to check out the Commonwealth as a possible permanent base while recovering valuable tech like Hellfire power armor and X-02 power armor. He established multiple camps around the Commonwealth, including Gunners Plaza, Parsons State Insane Asylum, and Dark Hollow Pond. These satellite camps did everything from preparing propaganda iBots for release to researching local flora and capturing Mirelurks for DNA samples. While the expedition's main goal was to seemingly recover and rebuild what was left of the organization's power, the brutal and cruel methods that the Enclave was known for still persisted. They had brutal secrecy rules where anyone who stumbled onto their camps got executed on sight because they treated the general populace as completely expendable. They also had standing orders to kill gunners when they had tactical advantage, but to avoid the Brotherhood of Steel entirely, showing they knew their limits. Enclave units also gathered intelligence through whatever means necessary, including reconnaissance and coercion. They tracked down multiple leads, including Enclave deserters who had abandoned the organization, raiders who had caught them, and various targets of opportunity. Eventually, the camp became equipped with high-tech weapons like iBots and Enclave laser turrets. turrets for defense. It all fell short against the sole survivor, though, who tracked down their camps and wiped out Elias and his forces in combat. This ended the Enclave's attempt to establish a permanent presence in the Commonwealth. And that's every Enclave group in Fallout explained. Which Enclave faction is your favorite? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Fallout lore dives.